I still remember the exact moment my heart shattered on what was supposed to be the happiest day of the year. It was my 25th birthday. The house smelled like vanilla cake and fresh lilies. My favorite. I had spent the whole morning smiling at my reflection, thinking this year would be different. After years of trying to prove myself to my parents, I finally felt like I belonged, like I was finally seen. The doorbell rang. I ran downstairs, expecting my parents with arms full of gifts and warm hugs. Instead, I found them standing in the foyer, faces serious, almost cold. My mom wouldn't even look me in the eyes. My dad cleared his throat and said the words that still echo in my nightmares. Sweetheart, we need space. Space? On my birthday. Before I could even process what he meant, he continued, "We've decided to cut you off. No more monthly allowance. No more support. It's time you stood on your own 2 feet." I laughed at first, a nervous, broken sound, thinking it was some twisted joke. But their faces stayed blank. My mother finally spoke, her voice flat. "We love you, but we need to focus on ourselves now. This is for the best." They handed me an envelope with a single check, 1 month's expenses, and walked out. No cake, no happy birthday, just the sound of the front door closing behind them. I stood there alone in the beautiful house they had raised me in, tears streaming down my face. Everything I had known, every sense of security, crumbled in that moment. I was their only daughter, the one who had always put family first, the one who had turned down dream opportunities to stay close to them. And on the one day I should have felt celebrated, they chose to abandon me. That night I cried until my eyes were swollen. I kept replaying their words, searching for what I had done wrong. Was I too dependent? Had I disappointed them somehow? The pain was so deep, it felt physical. Like someone had reached into my chest and ripped out everything warm inside me. But what I didn't know in that moment of total heartbreak was that their space would cost them everything. Word count, 465. MID, conflict and betrayal. The weeks that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I moved into a tiny studio apartment with the little money I had left. I started applying for jobs I was overqualified for, just to survive. Every night I would lie awake, wondering how 2 people who once called me their greatest blessing could throw me away so easily. I tried calling them. My mum answered once and said, "We're traveling, honey. We need this time for our marriage. Please respect that." Then she hung up. My father didn't answer at all. Through mutual family friends, I slowly learned the truth that broke me even more. They weren't just needing space. They had been planning this. For months, they wanted to sell the family vacation home, downsize, and enjoy their retirement without what they called the burden of supporting an adult child. They had already redirected funds and were preparing to change the terms of the family trust, the trust my grandparents had set up for all of us. That trust wasn't just money. It was my future. It was supposed to help with my education, my wedding one day, my first home. It was the safety net my grandparents had lovingly created for their only granddaughter. And now my own parents were trying to take it away from me. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. I felt worthless, invisible, unloved. I would sit in my small apartment, staring at old family photos, wondering if any of the love I remembered had been real. Nights blurred into days. I barely ate. I questioned everything about myself. But one quiet afternoon, while going through old documents my grandparents had left me, something shifted. Among the papers was a letter from my grandmother, written years ago. In it she said, "If anything ever feels wrong with the trust, you have the power to protect it. You are always the one with the strongest heart." That was the turning point. I met with a family lawyer the next day. What I discovered gave me both hope and a cold sense of justice. Because my grandparents had been wise, I was named as a co-trustee with certain protective rights. Rights my parents had conveniently never told me about. They had assumed I was too naive, too emotional, too dependent to ever find out. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than pain. I felt power, quiet, trembling, but real. The little girl who had been abandoned on her birthday was gone. In her place was a woman who refused to be erased. I spent long nights reading every clause, every line of that trust, and with each page, my heartbreak slowly transformed into resolve. Word count, 545. I didn't scream. I didn't call them crying. I simply did what needed to be done. With the lawyer's guidance and the rights my grandparents had given me, I froze the family trust. Completely. Every account, every asset, every distribution, locked. My parents could no longer access a single dollar without my approval. 2 weeks later, I received the first panicked call from my father. His voice, usually so confident, cracked with disbelief. "What have you done? The bank says the trust is frozen. We can't even pay for the trip we booked." I stayed calm. My voice was steady as I answered. "You wanted space, Dad. I'm giving it to you, permanently." My mother called next, crying, telling me how selfish I was being. The irony almost made me laugh through my tears. She said they never meant for things to go this far, that they still loved me, but love doesn't abandon someone on their birthday. Love doesn't try to rewrite a grandparent's wishes in secret. They tried everything. Guilt trips, lawyers of their own, even showing up at my apartment unannounced. But it was too late. The trust stayed frozen. Their plans for a luxurious retirement suddenly looked very different. Months later, I heard they had to sell their second car and downsize much sooner than they wanted. The vacation they had dreamed about was cancelled. For the first time in their lives, they were facing the consequences of their choices. As for me, I started building my own life. I got a good job. I made friends who truly saw me. I even began dating someone who celebrates my birthday like it's the most important day of the year. Slowly, the shattered pieces of my heart started to heal. Looking back, I don't hate my parents. I pity them. They traded their daughter for space and lost so much more in return. The biggest lesson I learned through all this pain is that family isn't just blood. It's who shows up when it matters. It's who chooses you, even when it's inconvenient. And sometimes, the greatest act of self-love is refusing to let people treat you as disposable. If you're watching this, and you've been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you most, please know this: your pain is valid, but your power is greater. Protect your peace, protect your future, and never be afraid to freeze what no longer serves you. Because sometimes, the coldest decision leads to the warmest new beginning. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment with your own experience. I read every single one. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and never let anyone dim your light. Word count, 465.